Technoblade is more than a weapon. He's been called many names: the Blood God, the Anarchist, Protesilaus, the Blade. Technoblade is like a force of nature, a character who has changed the course of history ever since he joined the Pogtopia Manberg arc. In some eyes, he is a hero, a tragic man who has been wronged by the corruption of the server's wicked governments, while others see him as an out-of-control beast. So who exactly is Technoblade? Techno is an incredibly compelling and complex character whose lore is intertwined with conflict and carved by bloodshed. So I had to analyze him. I'm definitely up for the task. Hi, I'm Scrawls, and in this video I will be doing an in-depth dive into Technoblade's lore, dissecting why he acts the way he does and the beauty of his character in the grand scheme of the Dream SMP. And of course, I've analyzed Techno's close ally Philza and other characters like Mexican Dream and Fundy, all on my quest to analyze as many Dream SMP characters as I can. So if you enjoyed this video, then please subscribe for more and smash the like button. After analyzing Techno, who knows who will be next? Rambo? Nikki? Mamacita? Now enough fanfare. It's time for blood. Blood for the Blood God. To truly understand Techno, we need to understand his behavior better. We need to get up all in his mindscape. Techno's personality. It's one of conflict. On one hand, he seems to value empathy and gets upset when other people support undemocratic systems. He values fairness, yet at the same time he can be prideful and violent, killing others without mercy. He's often self-righteous and vain, pushing himself on a pedestal far above others. And Techno's character is strangely self-aware, breaking the fourth wall and talking very meta, directly to his audience. In the lore, Techno can hear his chat. They are the voices in his head.
The reason it's so hard for me to be nonviolent, it's because I hear voices, Phil. Countless voices in my head. The voices demand blood, Phil.
These strange voices in his head demand blood constantly. They demand violence, and he often gives in. And besides that, while Techno is often confident, peer pressure can get to him, leading to him to submitting to the chaos and bloodshed other people command him to, sending him in sprees of violence. Yet despite these savage urges, he is one of the most skilled, disciplined, and strategic members of the server. Someone with the guts to face legions of enemies and the wit to figure out how to overcome them. Whether he's planting potatoes for the revolution or on a violent spree, one of Techno's core values is his loyalty, whether it be towards the people he respects or to his anarchist ideals. Such loyalty is shown in his friendship with Philza, his closest and oldest ally. Techno trusts Philza with secrets, values his companionship, and seems to care deeply for Philza's safety. During Doomsday, Techno even gave Philza one of his last remaining totems of undying at the time. However, this loyalty is also one of his biggest flaws. Because Techno values loyalty so much, he holds grudges and lashes out when people go against his ideals. When Tommy decides to leave Techno's side and join L'Manberg once again after his exile, Techno is enraged, destroying and attacking L'Manberg in Doomsday. He really went ham on those guys, am I right? Techno is just a very passionate anarchist, and his ideas can come above his allies sometimes. To believe in anarchy is to be someone who believes in the destruction of government, and that society shouldn't be controlled by such authorities. Techno believes this and will do whatever he can to make sure people are free from tyranny, whether it's through spawning withers or starting syndicates. Because of this, according to Wilbur Soot on the Dream SMP subreddit, Technoblade is a lawful neutral in the Dungeons & Dragons alignment chart. Technoblade is very lawful neutral. While Technoblade may seem chaotic due to his disregard for human life, he has still kept one intrinsic value in his entire character arc: the government. Techno has never strayed from this ideal and never will. He will make/lose friends around this idea and won't care. This basically means that Techno acts according to a very strong personal code, and this fact supersedes the chaos that is created by his actions. He strikes against others who disobey these rules even if they are his allies. For example, when he kills Tubbo after Tubbo gets chosen to be L'Manberg's president, through what Techno sees to be an undemocratic takeover of power.
I did not spend weeks planning this revolution, giving you guys gear for you guys to go in and replace one tyrant with another. Don't you see what's happening here? Don't you see history repeating itself? You think Schlatt was the cause of your problems? No! It was government!
And those are the base qualities of Technoblade's personality: loyal, violent, a powerful individual who holds grudges yet respects allies who earn his trust. But there's still a lot more to him. We have to dive into his lore to fully understand him. The Blade joined the server in the midst of the Manberg administration, J. Schlatt's reign of terror. Schlatt had won the presidency, and he had exiled Tommy and Wilbur. Now the former founders of L'Manberg wanted it back. so they enlisted the help of a former ally from another time to join the rebellion.
I've seen what you can do, Technoblade. Okay. How long have you been on this? How long have you spent here?
I haven't logged off.
Technoblade was a disciplined teammate who joined them in their underground exiled base of Poctopia and began to grind resources. However, he was invited to the Manberg Festival by President Schlatt. While at first he was just there to investigate, he was soon pressured by Schlatt to murder Tubbo, leading to tension between Techno and Tommy. They would later battle it out in the pit, and Techno would show Tommy that
The thing about this world, Tommy, is that the only universal language is violence.
Meanwhile, he and Wilbur were getting along pretty well. Wilbur was spiraling towards a plan to demolish Manberg with TNT, and Techno encouraged such plans. He truly believed in anarchy and dismantling a corrupt system, despite being pressured by Schlatt earlier. Pogtopia continued to prepare after that, and soon, alongside many other members tired of Schlatt, they worked together to overthrow the man. However, after taking out one tyrant, Pogtopia made some shifts in power and quickly chose Tubbo to be the new ruler, bypassing any kind of democratic system of choice. Enraged, Techno would go and try to destroy the Manberg with withers after Wilbur unleashed TNT.
If you want to be a hero, Tommy? Do you want to be a hero, Tommy?
Then die like one! Chaos!
After that, he decided to leave behind the wreck of a nation to live alone in the cold wilderness, and for a time he tried to turn to a pacifist lifestyle instead. However, the citizens of Manberg wanted vengeance. They gathered together a militia known as the Butcher Army and attacked Technoblade. Taking his horse Carl hostage, they dragged Techno back to the rebuilt Manberg and executed the Blade with no trial, which was a load of hogwash, if you ask me.
Technoblade has robbed our country. Robbed it of everything that made it special. Of everything that defined what it was.
Yet with the Totem of Undying, Techno escaped and saved Carl with help from Dream. After that, he would go on to prepare for absolute annihilation to pay for such injustice, collecting more wither skulls and amassing an army of hounds. Later, when Tommy was exiled and Dream burned down Loxodshire, Tommy found refuge with Techno, and for a while the two seemed to be allies again. Techno convinced Tommy to help him commit minor acts of terrorism against Manberg, and even kept Tommy hidden from Dream, who was hunting him down. But ultimately, Tommy returned to Tubbo's side, ending his exile and ending his friendship with Techno.
Technoblade, I know what I've done and I hate me for it. I'm sorry.
Techno.
Yeah.
You got any withers?
Tommy rejoined the side of a president, the side of what Techno saw as corruption. Teaming up with Dream and Philza, the trio would then engage in the Doomsday event, spawning legions of withers and raining TNT all over Manberg. Currently, Techno has gathered his allies and those he sees as instruments of defying tyranny in a collective known as the Syndicate. Techno, Ranbu, Philza, Nikki, and a secret member unite in this organization, and soon Techno may lead them together against other threats to freedom. And recently, Techno teamed up with Quackity, his enemy, to foil Bad Boy Halo's Red Banquet, a scheme to kill the egg's enemies and spark fear.
Alright, Quackity, where's this egg thing?
It's right here. It's right here, Techno.
Despite the two's differences, they both thought it was beneficial to stop the advancing power of the egg. And after that, Techno would go to visit an old business partner. Techno has fought in wars, cut down lines of enemies, and spawned destruction in his wake. He's one of the most feared members of the server, but why does he wish for blood? And what does this blood spilled mean? Wait, what was that? The sellout timer?
Technoblade says that Scrawls is poggers, subscribe to Scrawls and like the video.
Smash that like button and punch the subscribe button right now, or I'll make the Manberg pit look like a tiny pothole. Techno can be a little bit violent. Techno is known for his skills in battle. That's one of the main reasons Tommy and Wilbur ask him to join them back during the Manberg War. And throughout Techno's history, we've seen him time and time again defeat others easily in combat. However, because of this power he wields, Techno has often been used to turn the tides of war, whether for good or for evil. In the Manberg Festival, Jay Schlatt commanded Techno to execute Tubbo, and Techno was pushed into a fireworks killing spree. In the Battle of the Lake, Tommy called over the Blade to help him win a skirmish against Sapnap and a few others. During the Manberg War, Techno helped lead Poctopia to take down Schlatt's tyranny, but he was outraged when the rebels quickly put Tubbo in charge instead. And even when Techno tries to move away from this violence, anger and betrayal still follows him. The Butcher army hunts him down, Tommy leaves him to protect L'Manberg, or the voices shout blood for the blood god. Techno must feel tired of being passed around like some sort of super weapon throughout wars. This frustration with authorities trying to use him may be part of the reason why he hates government so much in the first place. Being told what to do and not getting the liberty he wishes for at the end of wars are what helped drive him to feel extremely angry with the government. Which of course leads to even more violence, such as Techno's wither spawning in Doomsday. Is Techno's violence against L'Manberg justified? Some people would argue yes. L'Manberg was a corrupted nation in many people's eyes, and their treatment of Technoblade wasn't exactly fair. They barged into Philza's house, took Techno's pet hostage, hunted and dragged Techno to execution without trial, and elected Tubbo without choosing him fairly. They've committed many war crimes, thus supporting Techno's view on the government being corrupted. But on the other hand, some say that Techno lashing out and destroying a whole nation wasn't fair either. Instead of trying to reason with them, he was reckless and explosive, giving in to the voices in his head. Homes and businesses laid in L'Manberg and they were destroyed. And the Butcher army attacked in retaliation against Techno's earlier terrorism against their nation, so there had to be consequences. Both of these angles could be defended. Yet, despite all the bloodshed, Techno doesn't see himself as an unstoppable weapon like others see him. He wants to be seen as a person. During Doomsday, when TNT rained down, Tommy and Techno screamed at each other from across the growing chasm, and we hear Techno say things a mindless killing machine would never say.
You saw me just as the Blade. That's all I was to you, the Blade. You went back to Tubbo, the guy that exiled you, that chose his country over you. I'm a person!
Under that impenetrable netherite armor, Techno yearned for people he could trust. After being betrayed, or used, or tossed aside so many times, his frustration coalesced into this moment of anger and sadness. When he was being pressured, did they stand up for him? Did they care about him for reasons besides his combat? He wanted people to see him as more than a weapon. We've been looking a lot at Techno's warfare, but for a moment let's take a look at something a bit different. The stories he references. From a narrative standpoint, Technoblade's character has been incredibly fascinating with how his character often uses allusions, tying the Dream SMP to the grand scheme of literary intertextuality. Okay, that probably doesn't really make that much sense, so let me explain. On the server, Technoblade has referenced Greek mythology throughout his speeches and battles. Before he spawned withers after Tubbo became president, he told Tommy of Theseus' story, the myth of a Greek hero. And later, when he formed the syndicate, each member was given a mythological codename to represent them. These callbacks to ancient myths are called allusions, which are basically references to other well-known stories. While simple, allusions to Greek mythology are commonplace in a lot of Western literature and real stories in general. Classic tales like Frankenstein, Hamlet, and Heart of Darkness all draw from mythology, just as Techno does. Through these literary devices, stories can connect their themes and characters to ideas audiences are familiar with. Before Techno arrived on the server, Wilbur and Tommy's story was about rebelling against Dream, and it took much inspiration from the musical Hamilton, which follows the founding fathers of America fighting the British in the Revolutionary War. The two stories are of course very different, but Wilbur alludes to Hamilton heavily, by quoting lines such as, "My unfinished symphony," or by imitating the relationships of the play, calling Tommy his right-hand man. Overall, these allusions helped give Dream SMP a similar mood to Hamilton, shaping L'Manberg into a ragtag group who weren't throwing away their shot. Meanwhile, Techno connected the Dream SMP to mythology, ancient stories obsessed with tragedy, violent skirmishes between heroes and monsters, and the often savage interactions between gods and men. By alluding to epic myths of Greek mythology, Technoblade seems to be elevated. He seems more grand, almost even godlike. His speeches seem more brutal, yet at the same time educated, posing Techno's character as someone who understands the history of the world and its downfalls. These allusions also reveal a lot about how Techno sees himself and how he sees others. Techno calls Tommy Theseus, a Greek champion whose life ultimately ends in tragedy. This reference shows how much disbelief Techno has in Tommy and in the government. He sees defending the government as a lost cause, a fruitless effort that was something naive people did. Meanwhile, in the Syndicate, Techno gives himself the codename Protesilaus. Protesilaus was a Greek soldier in the Trojan War and was the first to step on Trojan land after leaving the Greek ship. He was a zealous warrior who was also the first to die in the war. This connection once again reflects Techno's unwavering persistence to his ideals. He sees himself as someone willing to charge first for his cause, even if it means putting himself in peril. In the end, the illusions that Techno brings up tie him back to his loyalty to anarchism, and his loyalty to those he cares about. Techno values those who show him kindness. Earlier I talked about how Philza is Techno's best friend, a man Techno would be willing to give his life up for. When Techno was dragged by the Butcher army back to L'Manberg after their attack, his first reaction was to call out for Philza and make sure his friend was okay and not harmed.
Phil, what did they do to you? Leave Phil alone, just take me.
Unlike others, Philza isn't friends with Techno for power, but because they're friends. They trust each other. They enjoy each other's company. And much later, we see how Techno has built up kind relationships with Ranbu and Nikki. He relates to their issues and how they have felt battered and broken by the system. Nikki, who was often ignored and left out by L'Manberg's founding fathers, is someone Techno can laugh with and share a pie with. Ranbu, who is constantly confused and torn between warring sides, finds peace settling down as simply Techno's friend. Despite Ranbu once being part of the Butcher army, Techno can see past this over time. Techno discovers that Ranbu has trouble with peer pressure as well, and learns to trust the half-Enderman.
Oh my god, Ranbu! Ranbu, we're best friends! Wait, what happens when I place it? Okay, it's a pig spawner, that's still pretty cool. Break it again!
As much as Techno can be violent and harsh, his character yearns for understanding and genuine friendship. And Techno values these people because in the end they treat him like a person, not a tool. In Techno's early June stream, the caption of the stream was, "Those who treat me with kindness will see that kindness repaid tenfold." And many people thought that Techno would be breaking Dream out of prison, as Dream cashed in a favor for saving Carl from the Butcher army earlier. But while Quackity did come to tell Techno that he should visit Dream, Techno visiting Dream would happen in a later stream. When Techno came back from a trip to the wilderness, he found that the Syndicate had gathered to throw him a surprise birthday party.
Oh my god. Oh my god. I'm so canonically surprised. Oh my goodness.
It was a surprisingly wholesome stream, and it showed the bonds that had formed between them. The bonds between people who showed Techno kindness and gave him genuine friendship. He repaid them with his own company in jokes and laughter and fireworks, this time in a non-violent way.
Yo, it's popping up.
It was only a few days after the party when he would go and meet Dream. Quackity told him that Dream wanted to see him, and despite being suspicious of the situation, Techno was loyal and went to visit. Even with someone he wasn't that close to, stuck in a situation that was pretty dangerous, Techno was willing to come through. And when Techno does visit and it ends up being a trap, he seems perfectly at ease, ready to take full advantage of the trap strategically. Past all of his violence, Techno values loyalty to his allies, especially his friends. He cares for them, because they see him as more than a weapon. Technoblade is a complicated character. While he's loyal to his friends, he's a grudge keeper who can lash out at any sign of people going against him. Time and time again, he's shown his fury and why he's not someone to be messed with. I think the reason Technoblade has become such a popular character is because all of these intricate nuances within him make him such an entertaining person to watch. Techno fans love seeing his character annihilate enemies, yet they must also watch him get pushed around by people like Schlatt and Tommy. He's a morally gray character who everyone can have a unique perspective on. There are so many facets to him that contrast and interact that make him amazing to see perform, fighting foes, making friends, saying speeches, and spilling blood for the blood god. His character is passionate about his ideals, packing every speech and every line with jokes, self-aware humor, or emotional delivery. It makes his whole story seem like a show, a performance, and I'm sure in the future it will continue being like that as his character faces conflict, tries to break out of prison, and faces other enemies. Technoblade is a warrior stuck between strategy and violent urges, who weaves life with ancient myths. He's an anarchist who is twisted by his loyalty to his friends and to his ideals. Technoblade is all of these things, but he's also a person.
We were scared you might do a fight or flight situation and just start stabbing.
I was very worried about getting stabbed.
I'm like, oh, not the fireworks, L'Manberg.
Yeah, we put your little side.
It's over. The pig puns were starting to get boring. Before you go, make sure to join our Discord where we discuss the Dream SMP, hang out, just have a grand old time. Go join. And also thank you to all these wonderful artists and people who have helped me with this video. I really appreciate your help. And to everyone watching, thank you for watching, thank you for subscribing, and for enjoying my content. There's more to come, and I'll see you in the next video. This has been Scrawls. Ooga booga.